Good afternoon. Hello. Welcome again for another live stream. Let's see who's here first. I'll probably be in a zone again. Have something that I want to talk about. Isabel, welcome. Thank you for coming by again. And 420, Wild Dragon is here. Nice, nice, nice. Jamie, hello. And Juan, hey Juan. Nice to see you. I hope the stream is clear and the sound is good. If you're joining on Facebook, seems like the stream is already having some issues. I want to say bear with the technical issues, okay? That does happen, especially now. A lot of people are having issues. Time will tell. Welcome, welcome, Anne. I see you here. Jamie, did I say hello? Prosperity Now. Wow. Welcome. That's a new name around here. Let's welcome Prosperity Now. Hey, T. Witten and IG. Hello, Flower Girl Apothecary. Alicia's here. Hello, Alicia. Yay, you caught a live. Nikki. Hello, Nikki and Kathy in Arizona. And Christine. Hey, IG, did I say hey to you? Hope I'm doing well. Thank you. And Penny Banks, welcome. Okay, what I'm going to do is just get into what I'm feeling a leading to talk about. And also, in 24 hours, I could possibly lose access to my channel or a couple of them. I have to look at all the community, and it's just losing access through StreamYard, and StreamYard was my only way to have access. So it's a technical thing I've been working around, but possibly in 24 hours, I might have trouble uploading or having a live stream. So I figured if it takes me a while, and then I'm on a one week punishment grounding on my backup channel. So I can't do anything for 1 week. So I've been grounded because I shared Albert Bourla, the CEO of Pfizer. I just shared, what Rebel News did, doing real journalism. So I told you yesterday that they gave me a strike on that channel and told me that I can't do anything for a week. So if you don't see me on the YouTube in a while, I figured let me do something that really matters, okay? Like kaboom, okay? So this here, if it's a while before you see me, I'm going to make this one really count, okay? So get ready for some information that's tough, but we don't shirk away from tough things, right? We don't live in a bubble. So I'm going to share a story. It's a Philadelphia story. And just so I could establish with you that I am a Philadelphian through and through. I may not have been born in Philadelphia, but both of my parents were born in Philadelphia. And in terms of Philly, I was raised in Philadelphia. So I want to establish that in terms of why do I talk about Philadelphia. There are things that I am resolving and revisiting and connecting. And I want to share a story that I know very intimately in terms of knowing the person, having gone through school, elementary and high school with this person, and what happened to him, and the aftermath, and some of the things that I learned, some revelations that I learned that were, I shared yesterday, were completely unraveling to come to grips with some truth about the place where I grew up, Philadelphia. Very amazing city, but one that has a dark secret. And this secret resides in the Black Boule. And I talk about the Black Boule. And today I'm going to make some connections that I didn't make before. And it came out of what I was talking about yesterday regarding, if you didn't see yesterday, I did a live stream. And if you want to check it out, it was a testimony. It was a testimony of my deliverance from dabbling in spiritual things, the occult, and I shared all of the ways that I escaped a lot of traps and snares. Only by the grace of God did I do so, but I only shared some. That was by no means an exhaustive list, okay? That's what I could recall yesterday. But whenever the time comes and all the other stories will weave themselves in like fiber, it'll just happen organically, all right? So yesterday was a testimony that I touched on this particular story about a childhood friend or school companion named Terry Williams. So I want to share Terry's story, and I welcome and invite you to look into his story if you should feel led. I have shared Terry's story for some time now. And as I've told you, I have lost social media channels and platforms. I have been censored. And I've lost some of my platforms that had content. That's why I want to talk about this currently, as I look back in retrospect and make some connections. So that's why it may be repetitive. If you've been on this journey with me for some time, which some of you have, like some of you are starting to swing by that I have known from the Empower Network days. That's when I first started a YouTube channel and started to learn about blogging. That was what I wanted to learn. And some of the, just the new way to communicate, this online stuff. And I went through my learning curve with a lot of people that I still remain connected to. And a lot of them, we are beginning to reconnect. And it's beautiful. So if you're from the Empower Network days and you're in the chatmosphere, you just want to let me know. Don't stay in the bushes. Don't hide. Come on in the chatmosphere. Let me know, okay? I love you all. I've learned so much from you. And some of these stories you may remember from my old channel. So today I want to talk about a ring in Philadelphia. A secret ring that involves the Black Boule. It involves the people that, we were told to look up to, the ones that you trust. They have authority. In other words, these are teachers. These are people in the church leadership, and other types of professions that you were taught to trust, including law enforcement. So Terry's story is one of probably many people's story, because children that have gone through, and I'll try to censor the words only because I really want this story to not be as censored. Possibly, I don't know if I can get through some of the algorithms, but I'll ask you to share this. If you should want to, I would encourage you to. If you think it could help, I welcome it. Or if you want to use it and use it for any pieces of a reel or whatever, do so. Because it's more important to me that this story is not censored, and that this story can be possibly the beginning to open other people's mouths, their hearts. Okay, so you're welcome to share this. So Terry Williams went to school with me, and that was in Mount Airy, the Mount Airy section of Philadelphia. And I want to just again thank you for coming in. I may not get to see you over in the chatmosphere. I see Karen's here. Thank you, Karen. And Karen, thank you for everything that you do, sis. And Girl Code, thank you. Girl Code, I need to call you. I've been out of the loop all day, and I'll tell you why. We'll talk later. But I am just driven right now to, this is something that I can't explain. I need to do this. It's very important. And I thank you for your time. Okay. And I thank you for your grace and your mercy, and just bear with me as I give you this testimony. It's not easy. Okay. It's not fun to talk about. So, and it's like a part 2 from yesterday. Terry Williams and I went to C.W. Henry School. And Terry came from, as you would say, the wrong side of the tracks. There were kids that came from Mount Airy, the side that I lived on, and I also lived in Germantown, but I lived in, the nicer parts. And then we had little pockets around Germantown, little neighborhood pockets where the children there, they grew up in rougher circumstances. If you could just see an analogy, it would be like my little friends, like our type of Black kids. We were like the Cosby kids. If you watch the Cosby Show, we're like those Black people, Then you have the Black Boule. In other words, I'm going to keep using the term, the Black Boule, the elite of the Black people. Terry and other children like him from the other pockets, they were different from a classism thing. The little Cosby kids that I grew up with, a lot of them had the ideal family portrait. Although I was from a broken home, I wasn't invited to get into Jack and Jill. That was, one of the things, like I didn't have entry at some of these points. But Jack and Jill, they only invite you if your parents are married. So I didn't qualify to even be seen for that. So, but I still, in terms of being in that circle, I knew there was a difference in where Terry grew up, his surroundings, and the children from his neighborhood. They could fight. For one thing, they could beat your butt. They were like, one of them is Bernard Hopkins. Okay, if you want to, I'll drop names when need be. The thing about Philadelphia, we can drop names because Philadelphia is a small town in actuality. It's no big deal to know celebrities. If you're from Philadelphia, we don't trip over celebrity like that. Just so you know, it's really like that. Philly is a tough city. They don't care. It's like, get out of here. Who cares that you're a celebrity? They booed Kobe Bryant when he would come to Philadelphia. Just so you know, I'm just kind of building, because it's going to take me a minute to get into this. But I just want to establish some things for people who may not be familiar with a city like Philadelphia. It's a very rough city, very critical, very blue collar, yet, having this black Boule. It might be actually the birthplace of the black Boule. If you don't think so, go ahead and let me know where you might think the birthplace of the black Boule is. I would say Philadelphia, because Philly is a place of first. So again, Terry and kids like him, we all converged and we went to school together at C.W. Henry and other schools, Lingelbach on Lincoln Drive. Okay. So a lot of us, we progressed through the same schools. We may have gone to different schools, and then we came together in high school. Some of us, I went to Germantown High School with Terry Williams. A lot of other people like him, Yeah, you've heard of Bernard Hopkins. Yeah. Bernard Hopkins was, he was at C.W. Henry with us. So I got to know Bernard and his sister, Bernadette, things like that. So, we're not in touch now, but yeah, we were all in the same school. And this school was considered a good school. And it was a difference in terms of the classism. So it didn't matter when you're children, but it's just not spoken, and you can somewhat see the resentment. Like some of the boys resented us, like little Cosby kid girls, Bernard and this other guy, John Williams, and all. They used to throw books at our heads, because we're sitting in the front of the class. And they're sitting in the back of the class being clowns, okay? Keeping a comedy show going, because they were hella funny. Kids like that, like they're really funny. That's where you get the comedians that we've all loved. They come from rough places. So these are the funniest kids. I still laugh at some of the things. They were characters, okay? And the ones that came from the rougher side, the Bernard Hopkins and everything, I suspect that they resented us. We were the little uppity girls, And if they came over to some of our parties and saw how we lived, they're like, they're coming back to rob you. I'm sorry, I'm telling you the truth. They've cased your house, okay? You had a little house party and all these kids were mixed in. I mean, you might have situations. I mean, I heard about stuff like that, and it happens to be facts. If you live in a city, and especially one like Philadelphia, with this classism that exists in the Black community. So at C.W. Henry, the other kids and us, we mixed in well. We laughed. They kept us in check. We were scared of them. Okay. They kept us tightened up. You know what I'm saying? Like, there was a girl who, I believe she was struggling with her sexuality very young. And, she dressed like a tomboy. And she didn't like us Cosby girl kids, She had like this, she hated us. We didn't know, like, she was like bipolar. One day you were cool with her. Next day, she punched me one day out of nowhere for I don't know what reason. She punched me so hard in the chest that I lost, like, I was trying to gasp for breath. I'm like, I've never been punched in the chest except by this kid. They were violent, a lot of them. And, I had a little Jewish kid named Rafi Schwartz. Shout out to Rafi. I know you live in Israel now. Rafi escaped to Israel. Okay. That's how bad, probably traumatic it was for him. Like, Rafi was this little cute Jewish kid. I mean, he looked like a Partridge Family kind of Jewish kid. He had long hair and he was super, like, hella cool. Like, we grew up with like the Jewish and the Black in Mount Airy. We were just like, it was a very cool balance. And Rafi was like just so cute. We just thought he was so cute. But one of the Black girls, like from the hard side of town, she was like, she had a crush on Rafi. Can you imagine? But she didn't know how to express herself. And I think he could catch the smoke too. I don't know. Whenever we had to change classes and walk through hallways, that's when you never knew if you were going to catch a fade. You never knew. Because that's when it was like, it was Fight Club or something, and they would just come for us. But, it was like interesting. We watched, I witnessed even one of the teachers, she was attacked. Like in the classroom, the children just started wilding out. And they attacked a teacher. And it was unbelievable to see how, like, mob mentality, like how children just can get into a wild state. And their backgrounds, I didn't know some of the things that some of the children were going through. And that's not to say that the Cosby kids didn't go through it too. But the other children that came from some of these pockets, they went through extremes in abuse. A lot of them were not protected, and a lot of them had anger issues. And so being mixed in with these kind of kids that they could see as, oh, you have it all. It was, this resentment, and sometimes they would blow up on us. And Terry, he wasn't violent. Terry was cool. He was the guy that everybody had a crush on. He was the football player. He was actually an all-around athlete. And he would just tease, it was like teasing. I was really tall, and the friends that I hung around with, the tall girls, of course, because that's what happens when you are a tall girl. So we're always in the back of the line. So Terry and the guys would tease us. They had all kinds of names because, we're tall. And so that's the worst I can remember. Otherwise, me and Terry were great. He excelled in football. So by the time, let me go back. When we were at Henry, I remember his mother coming up to the school. And he had gotten in trouble for something. I didn't really know what. But she unleashed like a fury of anger where I didn't see it, but I could hear in the hallway. Like she came into the classroom and took him out. You could tell she was angry. And all the children, watching your schoolmate be taken out of the class by their mother, who you could see is really angry. You don't know what to do. Like you're really in a state of anxiety. What is happening? And then to hear him screaming from the hallway, and his mother, you could hear her screaming, and she's beating on him. And you're just hearing this. And we had to change classes. This was if you had a school like that, you're going up. These are big, big buildings in Philadelphia, big school buildings. And so they have basements and, you're going between floors and you're going to the auditorium. You know what I'm saying? You're always single file lining up to go somewhere. And we had to change class after this thing happened to Terry. And I'll never forget, I saw blood on the walls in the hallway. And I saw it for a while. I didn't see Terry. Everything had been, it had stopped. But I saw blood. And it was just shocking. And I knew that Terry had a hard life, because there was a teacher there at the school. He has since died. And he was a teacher that took an interest in the boys, only boys. And he wasn't known to be a man that was married, but even as a child, I knew that he was very elegant. He was one of those men, black men, very elegant, well-spoken. He wore very nicely tailored suits. His shoes, were amazing. And he was very, he commanded respect. He was a tough teacher. And we all wanted to, be in his good graces. Now, he took the boys to Sixers games. And it was like he would say in class that he got tickets for the Sixers, which is the basketball team for anybody, I know we have international people, but you probably know about the 76ers is the basketball team in Philadelphia. And he would get tickets and he would make an announcement about he's taking, and I forget how he would say it. If anybody is watching that might know, one of my schoolmates, I don't know, but he would say something to the extent of, for the children that are from like lower income families, this was something that whatever his connection, he has these tickets and he's taking a group of boys to the game. And that was just that. And, the rest of us kids were like looking like, okay, it feels weird, but I guess, okay, that's okay, right? You're kind of happy for them, but then you're a kid too, and you're thinking, wow, okay, why, whatever. It was odd. So they would go to the game and come back, after the game, and they're all and I wasn't into basketball games. It wasn't about wanting to go to the game. It was just about, you could see there was a difference. There was like, this teacher was treating the boys that he selected, he was treating them different. And he was able to justify it through some sort of charitable thing. And we should shut up because we're the Cosby kids. Like, you shut up kind of thing. That was how it felt. How dare you? And so you just didn't question it. But in your spirit, you knew, you just didn't have words or anything to, validate what you were sensing and feeling. And the boys would come back and they would, talk about how much fun they had at the game. And some of the players would give them like shoes and stuff. And they were just, they had a great time. So it was interesting. And this teacher, I now suspect some things. And I suspected, it's my opinion, that he was doing something that at least needed to be investigated by the school board of Philadelphia. Because I know that I could not have been the only person to sense that this was odd. I know people knew things. So we go through and matriculate through to high school, Germantown High. So by the time we're in high school, everybody, we had the football team, big football team, Germantown Bears, and Germantown is no longer around, by the way. That's one of the, unfortunate things about a city like Philadelphia, which definitely has a curse over the city. There are a lot of schools that have closed, and the buildings just sit like white elephants until somebody gentrifies it and turns it into hipster dwellings. This is where they have studios. You know how it goes. You take an old building that this school was housed in and you turn it into luxury condos. That's the kind of stuff, the kind of predatory stuff that you see happening. And I'm not sure that happened with the building there. If anybody's from Philly, just fill us in and let me know if that building is still sitting like a white elephant. But that school, it was interesting. I was, I was in the magnet program. So I was sequestered with all the black nerds. We had classes like philosophy, and we took trips up to the New York Stock Exchange. So we were in our little bubble. And then you had Terry Williams and the other guys and all the other kids. They're in the regular general high school part. So I didn't really see Terry that much. I was hanging with the nerds. If you know that TV show, remember the one with Robin Givens, head of the class? That was us. We were like the black nerds. So Terry was, by this time, he was really popular football player and, just star. And he went on to college through a scholarship even. And he had a baby young with one of the girls from, I went to elementary school. They were like the perfect, cute little couple, They were teenage parents. But it was like, we loved it. They were great. We were thinking, oh, they're going to get married, So Terry, once he got to college, I was down at Spelman, and I really wasn't even coming back to Philadelphia because my parents had moved to St. Croix, the Virgin Islands. My stepfather had taken, he had a job where he had to go down there and work in the refinery. So we lived in St. Croix. So I was home from St. Croix. I was home in St. Croix from Spelman. And this is when you talk on the phone. It wasn't any internet. So someone told me that Terry was locked up. And I'm like, what? They're like, Terry Williams was locked up. And I'm, what do you mean? So they explained that he had gotten into some trouble where he was implicated in robberies and all kinds of things, like horrible, but it culminated in 2 murders. And I'm just confused, like, you got to be kidding. And they told me they were going to mail me the newspaper. Can you imagine? So I'm waiting for the newspaper back then. So my friend mailed me the newspaper. So I'm reading it and I'm horrified. And I won't get into all the details, but it was like he and another kid that we knew. But this kid came from the good part. He had, he lived in the good area. His dad was a cop. He was like, one of the Cosby kids. And he was implicated also in these, like, it was a rash of crime that, I can't recall all the details, but it involved robbery, taking credit cards, going to New Jersey, going on shopping sprees, killing 2 people, one of them at a graveyard, putting one of them on fire, like craziness. And I'm like, it was like a horror show, just reading the details and seeing Terry's name and the other kid. And I'm like, I was just stunned is not even a word for it. And I instantly became very alienated from the whole idea of Terry. I shut down in terms of, like, I don't know, I just pretended I didn't know him. Like, I almost, like, it feels like I put him out of my mind because I couldn't deal with what I had read in the newspaper about him. And I was like, I think at a nightclub, and somebody told me that Terry, like one of the guys that I knew from school, that he had kept in touch with Terry. He had mentioned, like, Terry has your picture. He was like, he saw you in the newspaper because I was modeling at some point, So Terry must have seen me in the newspaper because they did like a couple of stories because I modeled for the Ebony Fashion Fair. And so Terry, they said he had a picture up or something in his jail cell. And I was like, oh my God, no. I was so like, oh my gosh. It scared me actually a little bit. And I'm ashamed of that. But that I'm honestly telling you how I had just put him out of my, I suppressed any memory of him. But if I heard his name, I was rattled. And a lot of the people that went to school with us, they kept in touch with him. So I knew that. And I would hear about him occasionally. So kind of fast forward, I was living in LA and someone got in touch with me on Facebook. I forget what year it was. It'll come to me what year. Excuse me. Let me get comfy. So I was told that Terry was on death. I knew he was on death row. And he was up for execution. But there were a lot of groups that were fighting for his, like, on his behalf. You know, the groups that they fight for justice, like, and, you know, some of them are lawyers and they do this kind of thing as a charitable thing. And Amnesty is one of the groups I know that gets involved in things. And in Philadelphia, we have the Mennonites and the Friends Society, and a lot of them get involved in fighting for prisoners to, if they've been, you know, convicted wrongly, things that are inconsistent. A lot of these groups fight on behalf of people who have been wrongly imprisoned. So you may know of groups like that. But in Philadelphia, we do have a vibrant Friends Society. Those are the Quakers, if you don't know. The Quakers are very active in this way. So, and I knew from personal experience, the Quakers were very involved with my father, actually, you know, writing letters, and they're very involved with things like that, justice and fairness and things like that. And that's the extent that I know about the Quakers. So if you know things about the Quakers, feel free to enlighten me. I just knew all the good narratives about the Quakers growing up in Philadelphia. Okay. So I just want to establish that. And so they needed people to write letters of support for Terry because there was information that had come forward from Terry that he did not disclose when he was initially tried for the crimes that ended up in 2 men dying, murdered. And the things that were withheld were shocking. And I talked about it a little bit yesterday. That Terry had been groomed from a little boy. He had been groomed. And when a little boy or any child is groomed, I've been told that they have a smell. They have a smell. I don't know how to really understand that, but that was what someone told me. And remember, I've been a nurse for 30 plus years. I have heard things. I have heard from people that have been in hospitals and behavioral health centers that have shared these sort of things. I wish I didn't know these things, people. But this has been the journey. Like I said, some of us have had to have our hands in the dirt. And, you know, if you've been protected from this stuff, you've been able to live in a bubble, you know, thank God you didn't have to, you know, go through these things. But I was told that the little boys have a scent, a smell. It may have something to do with pheromones. And I could get really, you know, I could get down and dirty with you, but I think you know what I mean. If you think about, okay, maybe let's just go biological. Let's just take some time here. Kind of get into the biology of things. when you think about musk, if anybody has ever worn musk, I want you to just put a connection together. That musk, real true musk, it comes from a gland in the animal. And that gland is in the anal area. Therefore, if you think about someone saying that the little boys or the children have a smell once they have been abused, and if someone who has a proclivity for children, they are attracted. And that's something that maybe we haven't really understood. Attraction. Attraction is something that it can be chemical, right? It can be a lot of things. I don't understand it totally to really break it down in a science. I can only share some of the things I understand, basic biology. So I'm thinking if people have been broken and they are unstable, they are not natural. They have unnatural tendencies. And that would be anybody, an adult attracted to a child, right? That's something that's not a balanced, natural thing. So if they have this proclivity and they can actually tell which little boy, I'm going to use little boy this evening, if that's okay with you all. Because I feel that one of the things that bothers me is that little boys are not given the same sympathy and empathy. And I don't know why. If you know why, share it, please. It's my observation and opinion. So, Terry and some of the other boys that I grew up with, it turns out, they were being turned out. They were being used sexually in exchange for material things, clothes, things like, I don't know, money. And this is hard. This is hard to talk about. It needs to be talked about. And Terry, and like I said, some of the boys that I grew up with, especially if they were poor, some of them were exchanging their bodies. And they also could have had girlfriends and played football. And this would have never been ever dreamed of. That it could be like a double life, a secret, so closely guarded and not suspected. So when I learned that Terry, I read through one of the most graphic accounts where Terry had given this extra information that he withheld when he was convicted. I want to say he was ashamed of having gone through what he went through. And that's powerful. And when we think about victims, children that have gone through this, we have to understand that if they are adults, this is very hard to talk about, especially if they have been, for the most part, they're straight. They're not homosexual. They're straight, yet they live with this secret. And especially if they were groomed from a child, and now they're teenagers. So when I read this account, and I some of the parts it was so hard. I had to walk away. I was in a state of shock. And I have to say, one of the things that really just shocked me was the cruelty of the account of these men. The rough way they handled Terry, the abuse, the physical abuse. And one of them, because it was two men that had done this to Terry. So can you imagine he's seeing two of these men? And this, I'm just recalling this off of the top of my head, I have an account. In fact, I'm trying to bring it up. I had opened a page a while back, and it was just prayer. It's just simply called Prayer for Terry Williams. And I haven't done much with it. I think the last post I made to it was, I'm trying to think, bear with me. I think 2020, I made a post, and it's just let's see. I had done a WordPress blog that has since, it's not active, but let's see. Okay. I had an article that I could share. But like I said, I was shocked at the brutality of what Terry endured, and having kept this to himself. And the groups that were fighting on his behalf, some were international groups. Some people really, they have kept in touch with Terry. They're very compassionate. So that's why I want us to know that not all people that are considered liberal are, bad and evil, because some really have the heart in the right place. And he has friends that have become, his friends through writing him letters, and just sending him things, gifts, and just praying for him, encouraging him, and just knowing that there were people fighting for him, because I don't know where a lot of his family are. I know a lot of them have died. He has, his child, and I've never met his child. And the mother of their child, I knew her from elementary school, but I haven't been in touch with her. But he has a lot of support from the outside, and I hope it's still strong. And they were putting in a stay of execution. So they needed people to write letters, and they were doing a whole thing to prevent him from being executed. And I didn't keep up with his case, but just to hear like they were going to execute him, and it was, the date was set. And so I contacted as many of my friends that knew him, and we went to school together. I contacted people, through private messaging or called or whatever, and asked them to please spread the word, and let's write our letters, send our petitions in. So we did. A lot of us, we rose to the occasion. That's the least we could do, right? Especially learning that he had gone through all of this and we did not know. And they did stay his execution. And I got in touch with him. We started to keep in touch. There are ways that you can contact people in prison through email, and I'm not sure what it's like now. I have been wanting to get back in touch with him, and hopefully he will not hold it against me that I have been out of touch for a long time. And I don't have an excuse, but I have. But I don't want to forget about Terry. And I want people to hear his story. And if anybody is so led, if they become interested in joining the fight to get justice in any way, I don't know what that looks like. I don't know. Because I know him, I may be biased, and you can share your opinion. But I was able to go and visit him when he was at a supermax prison. And it was way out in Pennsylvania. So I got, permission, and he wanted to see me. And mind you, I had not seen him since high school. And it was far out, where I'm trying to think the Supermax. Do you all know the Supermax out there, way out there in Pennsylvania? But I know Mumia, Mumia, he's an infamous prisoner. Mumia was at the same Supermax. And I think Terry has been moved to a different facility now that he's off death row. So when I went to visit him, it was really quite an experience. I didn't know how I would be. Just did not. Yeah, Mumia Abu Jamal. Yes. If anybody knows about that case, it's a pretty explosive historical case out of Philadelphia, Mumia. So Mumia was at that same place, if you know the name of it. And so I was given, the protocol and etiquette for what was allowed and things like that. And I went, and went into the little area, and he was there, and I'll never forget the first time I just laid eyes on him after all these years. It was amazing. It was just really emotional. And we spent a long time talking, and he shared like a lot. And I have to say, I was so amazed at how conscious he was. He was such a just a different person. He was very calm and peaceful. He seemed like a philosopher, just peaceful and wise. His conversation was just wisdom. And I learned a lot from him. And even some of the people that I heard, the guards, they had a name for him, a nickname. And I heard what his nickname was. And mind you, I have heard through the grapevine of kind of like what it's like for him in the prison culture, where he kind of falls in identity and things like that, behaviors. And, you know, I'm not judging him. It is the ugly, as they say, the ugly truth. And prison culture is something that a lot of us do not understand if we haven't been through it. We've never experienced it. And I want to say that, just have a few notes here. You know how we talk about the culture a lot. I've been talking about the culture. And this feminism, and, you know, I'm calling it now clown wave feminism. And I have worked in academia, liberal, New York City, Barnard College, Columbia University, and they are obsessed with rape culture. And I don't want to censor my words. I'm already whatever, shadow banned, whatever. I just don't want to play around with words right now. But the feminists, they are obsessed with rape culture and overinflating it. But the one area that seems to be okay, that rape culture is rampant, is in the prison system. And I wonder why the rape culture in the prison system is not something that seems to be on anyone's radar. But Terry, when I went to visit him again, I was amazed at his spirit. And I thought about the way he spoke. He sounded like someone who was free. I can't explain it. Maybe you know what I'm talking about. He spoke like a free man. And it made me think a lot just about freedom. And I went through a lot of, you know, just soul searching, being in touch with him when I was. And I learned through looking into what happened to Terry. And this is why I implicate the Black Boule. Because the men that he killed, one was a church man. He was church, you know, leader. These are men that we looked up to. They had authority. And a lot of it was controlled in terms of the image of the men that he killed. I didn't see a lot of like stories, it was a lot of whispers and then it just died down. And also there was a person, you could say, from the Black Boule who wanted to make a name for himself. And you know how it goes, like get the convictions because that's what the people vote for, so you could look like you're tough on crime. And that was what I had learned was the push to execute Terry. It was just all political, really. Because they have people sit on death row for years and years and years. So it was this sudden push. And I heard it was all political. Just wanted to put that out there. Another another peek into the corruption of Philadelphia. And that's just not even a deep look into it. So another thing I learned about was that there was a circle of these men that would take boys over to New Jersey, and they would have parties in hotels over in New Jersey. And this was something that is known in a circle, I've been told. And when you think about children being taken across state lines, in New Jersey, you can, look at across the river, but I don't know why New Jersey was selected for these hotel parties that I learned about. Now, I don't know Terry's connection and if he went to any of these hotel parties. I don't remember any connection specifically with him and these things. But I want to say that it was exposed that Philadelphia has a circle of men that are married. Some of them. I'm just kind of thinking that this one teacher that I'm thinking of was probably in this circle of men. But a lot of them married. Leaders. And when I think about a lot of the boys that I grew up with, that my discernment is connecting, like I could be way off. There's only one that has come forward and spoken to me about his abuse. And I won't give his name. But he's the only one that, actually two, I'm talking about in Philadelphia that I knew. Two told me about abuse that they lived through. And that's hard. That's a hard one to, it's like, what do you do with that? Especially when they give the name of their abuser. It's hard. Whoa. I'll say this. There are a lot of really broken men that I know, that I grew up with in Philadelphia. Lots of broken men. And it can look a certain way, like it's their fault. They're just like this. They just want to be like this, right? When I think about the culture and the influence of these powerful people in Philadelphia, and I think about how pervasive it is and their secrets are kept. It's through economic bribery that a lot of them are able to keep people silent. And we already know about this. Through economic bribery, people buy silence from their victims and witnesses. And, they do other desperate things that we know about. But I want to say that that's something that seems to be acceptable, is to pay people off. And that happens a lot. And a lot of the broken men, if I go back to Philly and visit, and I'm not trying to be offensive to anybody who lives in Philly, but just hear me out. This is my observation. It's just my opinion. But when I go back to Philly and visit, and if I've hung out with some people and we might go somewhere where I might see people from high school, you know how it is, like certain bars that everybody hangs out at. And I go in there, and my brother has been with me, my little brother. He can attest to this. We'll go somewhere and it'll be like maybe a group of people I might know from elementary, high school. And, I'm like, hey, we're hugging the whole thing. And my brother will say, they went to high school with you? He's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, what are you talking about? That's so-and-so. He's like, what? And he's shocked because a lot of them have aged very harshly, like really rough aging. And now that I'm putting things together, it's a lot of trauma, and you can see that on the people, the world weariness, even the mental health. Because some of them you can just see mentally something has snapped. They are not the same. They're not that cute guy that everybody had to crush on, who was like the athlete and he was the best dancer. You know what I'm talking. He was the best this. And now you see him and his eyes have lost their life. You can just see it. And I'm telling you, this is my experience. When I go back home, I see the light has dimmed in a lot of people's eyes. And I'm not trying to be shady, but they may not look like they are my peers. And it's not I'm trying to, I look so young. That's not what I'm saying. It's that there's a rapid aging. And some of it is, I have theories. Like if I go to a bar, I know it sounds great. Go to a bar. Bars are popular in cities like Philadelphia. You have neighborhood bars, pubs, you call them pubs, whatever. So there are a few spots in Philly that you are guaranteed to hang out with Gen X of Philadelphia. You'll see everybody from all the high schools, or pretty much you're going to see people that from Germantown. It's not hard. And a lot of them, they drink heavily, and they drink what they call brown. And this is my, look, fight me. I don't listen, fight me. Okay. If you drink brown liquor, okay, this is my opinion. If you drink brown liquor regularly, I can tell. And it might be my power of observation from being a nurse 30 plus years. I can tell that you drink brown liquor regularly. It has a certain look. And because it's really popular in the Black community, when I go to a place like Philly and they're drinking a lot of brown liquor, it is a look that I can just see. And it's not to be judgmental, it's just to say that I have noticed things. And the people in Philly, there's just something that it's a lot of brokenness. The fabric of the city, the moral fabric of Philadelphia is very degraded. And you can see it when you go into, I've told you that some of you can also relate that when you are traveling and you are starting to descend from your flight to land in any particular city, you can feel whatever the spiritual stronghold is over that city. Philadelphia is no different. When you land in Philadelphia, you will feel the heavy spirit that is over that city. I don't know what that spirit is. I have yet to really think about this real deeply. What is that spirit over the city of Philadelphia? But you can feel it if you are discerning. And when you get through the airport and you drive, it's not many ways in to the city and wherever you're going to go, whatever neighborhood, but you have to go one way. And you get a whiff of the oil, you know what I'm saying? The oil field they have, the tanks or whatever. It's like the smell of sulfur, of burning. It hits your stomach and it makes me nauseated. Soon as if I can smell the city, it's like, welcome to Philadelphia. Here's some nausea. Get out of here. You get out of my face. You know? They have like not only the brokenness, but a lot of the people, and again, my Philadelphians, I am telling you, this is my opinion, and it's not out of hatred for my hometown, but when I'm visiting, a lot of the people that I see, it's like they have, the best way I can describe it, it's like a film, a gritty film that everybody seems to have. And like I said, a lot of people that I know, they haven't had the light in their eyes at the same vibrancy that I remember when they were children. And it's something I notice in Philadelphia. It might be because it's my hometown, but it's like I said, a gritty film over a lot of the people. It's almost like I want to just take something and just wipe the grit. And it's ironic that one of the mascots for Philadelphia, I think it's the Flyers, is named Gritty. And when I heard that, because I always thought that ever since I moved away from Philly, and when I would come back, I was like, I can't explain it. When I look at even my family up there, they have a film, like a gritty film over them. They don't know it, but this is me looking at them. It's a grittiness, and I don't see that in other places. I don't know. Maybe I do. I see it over when I travel sometimes internationally. If it depends on the type of country I go into, you can just see the people look almost, it's a traumatized look in the eyes. If you've been in healthcare, you know what I'm talking about. The people look traumatized. Their eyes don't have the light. It's a light you can see in people. And in Philadelphia, there's a harshness to the people. And the women are very harsh. Philly, the Black women, very harsh, very hostile. You know, I might go in and go to a store, and, the sister is, checking, I check out, and I'm trying to, I'm like, when I'm out in public, you already know I'm that same goofy person you see on these live streams. I'm like, hey, and people are they'll just look at you like, hi. And it's too much. They don't want you coming at them with too much of this happiness stuff. Like, calm down. So I have to learn to adjust when I'm in Philly. I have to tone this Valley girl, personality down. And I've always had trouble with certain people in Philly. That's why I said my way of getting along with the rough people is to make them laugh. I've always been able to make them laugh. They didn't want to like me, but I made them laugh, and they're like, damn it, you made me like you. So that's my weapon. And, like I was saying, back again through the silence. And the silence is what enables this to be so prevalent. And even though I'm talking about Terry Williams and his story, I kind of dedicate this to a few people that I know. I won't say their names, but if they're watching, I want you to know that I will continue talking about these kind of things that are uncomfortable. Even though I have never been through sexual abuse, it doesn't mean that I won't give voice to the voiceless. And that is in my heart and my spirit to do, because it hits home. I can't be silent. But I want to dedicate just the fact that I want you to know that you are not forgotten. But I can count. I have their names here. 1 minute. Give me a minute. I'm just going to count for you. At least 8. At least 8 men that I may not have grown up with all of them, and I may have met them. Some of them I met in Atlanta when I worked at Grady Hospital. But I have had friendships with men that have gone through abuse from the time they were children. One of them told me that their mother, who was entrenched in the church lady, he was being abused, and he told his mother one day when he was taking a bath, and there was blood in his bath water. And his mother was stunned. And he told his mother what had been happening to him. And his mother couldn't accept what her child told her and did not pursue any action on his behalf. He wasn't believed, okay? And another one of my friends, he was abused by a pastor and the pastor's son at the same time. Like, one would have him and then the other would follow up. A pastor and his son. Did you hear me? And I know another boy that I grew up with, and his cousin abused him. And he was never the same. Never the same. He's not with us anymore. He has passed away. But when I learned about his story, it's one of those things, like I said, this is like when you talk about the emotional cost, I'll say the emotional cost of pedophilia. It is a cost to not just the victim. It is a cost to the entire society at large. If we were to really look at the cost, of course, the victim is that's like the ultimate in terms of the attention. There is more damage that's done. And that's what I'm also giving voice to, is the trauma of knowing that children are not protected, and children who have been abused. And now they are broken. And boys are not given the same sympathy or empathy. And I want to know why. And it's the cost to the earth. Yeah, it's a cost to the earth. There's a cost to this, everyone. And our silence, we can't be silent. And I worked at St. Christopher's Hospital as nursing school. And there were children, like they have special charts for these kind of children, that they are the product. I hate saying product, but you know what I mean. The product of a father and his daughter. And, this happens. And there's a special protocol for how you handle everything with a child that, his sister is really his mother. Lots of that stuff, you all. Hey, Jilly, this is the root of so much Yes. People will medicate themselves. That's why I said I'm not judging when I go to Philly and I see all of the, people that are, they have addictions. They have brokenness that you can see it. It's just so much abuse and just so many secrets and denial. And one of the institutions that harbors these abusers is the Black church. Now, I'm dealing with the Black church right now. I know all churches have this problem, the Catholic Church. I'm talking about the Black church right now because I'm exposing the Black Boule, the gatekeepers. They are not holding up a standard of morality. And if you know of some of these people right here, this is just a collage of when I think of the Black church, as they call them as an entity, the Black church. This is what I think of right here. This. And it's not an exhaustive collage. But if you know the one that has the beard in the front, Eddie Long, a bishop. Now we're talking about Atlanta for a minute. But it makes my point about the Black church, the Black Boule church. Eddie Long. If I posted something right now on Facebook about Eddie Long, yeah, he's dead now, yeah, but still, the point is this. If I posted something about Eddie Long, somebody would defend him possibly. Somebody did defend him, or some bodies, in 2020. When I posted something about Eddie Long, and they came at me like the beehive. How dare you put your mouth on the man of God? You know the thing where you're not supposed to talk about the pastor, and they have a way they think of shutting you down where you're not going to talk about pastor. But I'm talking about this guy who's dead, and he still had a hive come and attack me. And I was like, are you kidding? This guy is like, wow, he's not even here. And the amount of evidence against this man, if you looked into it and did your research, I happen to remember Eddie Long from before he was a mega pastor. With my dad living in Atlanta, he had a small church in Lithonia. And it grew and grew, but I've gone to visit, and I remember lots of connections between him and some other church, and weird things, teenage ministries and stuff, high school ministries. And I knew some pastors. I knew a pastor couple that worked at the church before he was a big mega pastor. And they left the church because of what was happening to little boys, what they learned. How these people prey on single mothers that have children, in particular, little boys. That's what's on the menu, usually. Let's be real. That might be why they don't have the sympathy or empathy. I'm not sure what it is. So these churches, like I said, there are churches in every neighborhood in Philadelphia. And some of these men that take the boys over to the hotel parties, they are from the church. Some of them are from the church. Now, I'm back in Philadelphia right now. And the black church has become a joke. They have no moral authority, no leadership. They have been the gatekeepers of the black community, the spiritual shepherds, and the moral decay of a city like Philadelphia that has churches everywhere. It's so ironic. If you are in Kensington and you see the zombies walking around, there is a big church, as wide as you can just see, I think on both sides of the street, church. And there's a tent city right across the street from one of them, right on the grass, the patch of grass that they created because they took some rows of housing out. Just like when you're missing teeth, you know how they take the rows. Sometimes it's so they just demolish them and then grass eventually grows because nature is going to nature. But that grass that came up is now underneath tents, a city of tents. And then you have the Philadelphia police just outside their vehicles, talking to each other, drinking coffee, just, they're just there. Tent city, churches everywhere. Lawlessness abounds. The black church and the aftermath. The fact that the family is so fractured, and when I say the family, I mean the man and the woman, the very unit of the family is fractured. And in a city like Philadelphia, it is very pronounced. And that's why my friend, my school companion, that's why he was so unprotected, is that the moral fabric of the city of Philadelphia is so corrupted because of the lawlessness. And the black church, how can they stand? How can they continue to extract the wealth and go back into neighborhoods that are behind gated communities? They have private planes. They wear Gucci suits. And a lot of times in the black community, white supremacy is blamed. Racism and white supremacy. And the black liberation theology that I was once under the spell of, it convinces you that there is white supremacy behind everything. But I want to say that the black community has to be accountable here. for our children and for the moral decay of our families. It comes a time when it has to be accountability, because it's enough of us that know better. And if you go by natural law that explains that every one of us knows the difference between good and bad, right and wrong, we know. It has been written on our hearts to know. But we have a choice to suppress our conscience and harm people and justify harming others and be protected and shielded for the right price, for the threat of whatever, exposure, bribery, blackmail, you name whatever it is that keeps the secrecy and the protection around those that harm children. And I'll say in particular, those who harm little boys. I'm talking about little boys, because there's also one side of this war in the original family between the woman and the man. Is the woman now, the Black woman, is so just resigned that some of them want to abort Black boys. They don't want to even give birth to Black boys. They have made pacts with each other not to give birth to Black boys. That's the extreme on the other side of the manosphere. So when you have the chaos like it is, little boys are going to suffer. And if the natural affection that should be in the hearts of the women, in spite of them being a mother, but just a woman, a natural woman, like Aretha Franklin sang, a natural woman would shield and protect children, would believe children when their little son has blood in the bathwater and tells the mother that somebody has messed with them. That mother is going to believe her son and do something about it, say something about it. I don't care if you're going to lose your church family. Who cares? I've heard of people tell me that pastors have told them when they come to them for help and counseling about this, they've had pastors tell them, sometimes you just have to, look the other way in a marriage. You have to just let these things slide. That's the kind of advice some people have been given, some mothers even. So the moral degradation based on natural law and the authority that's been lost in the Black church, these Black Boule pastors. These pastors, a lot of them, Black pastors, they are in secret societies. I know that's not a surprise. You already know this. They're not even ashamed. They openly admit to it. They have two masters, or maybe not two. They have one master. They justify their memberships. They allow special funerals to take place after the funeral for the unwashed masses. They have all their secret stuff. But one of the things that has been flourishing on their watch is the abuse of little boys and those that will protect them. And in Philadelphia, another thing I had written down, that even when I worked as a nurse in Philly, I got to see just how bad the moral fabric is in the city, in the Black community. I did community nursing while I was at Temple in nursing school. We had to go into the community, and I learned so much about just going into the community around Temple in North Philadelphia. Unbelievable things. Some things I can't even talk about. They're so horrendous. And when I worked in the school system, I did a stint working as a school nurse. The children that had both of their parents, and this was in an inner city school, just Black kids, Black and Latinos, but mainly Black kids. If the child had parents that were still married or living in the same home, where everybody had the same name at least, if I had to call a parent, I could get a hold of them, both of them. And that child was a unicorn. Because when I had to contact parents, it was unreal trying to track down a parent after their child is in the nursing office, in the nurse's office. I need to talk to this parent about their child's health. And all of the fuckery I had to go through to get through to a parent. It was unbelievable. I told you guys the story. I called one mother, and this is when your cell phones had like a song that would play. Her song was Stanky Leg. I'm calling this mother because it's a medical emergency. And I got to listen to Stanky Leg before I could leave a message. Stanky Leg. Can you imagine? Just chaos. And when I worked at one of the behavioral health centers, it was a friend, one of the Quaker hospitals in the inner city. And I worked with these children and the stories that they would tell. They were being medicated. They were being like dulled down. Their weight just exploding because of the medicines that they put these kids on, all the psychotropic medicines. These children are in the system, in the foster care system. They age out. They get shipped off sometimes to Western states. Weird things now that I'm thinking about it. CPS and their involvement. The juvenile justice system that has like school to prison pipeline. I can tell you that's for real. The school to prison pipeline, it's real. A lot of the kids like Terry, a lot of them had been through juvie. They had like the youth study center or something. They used to have it down on the Parkway. If anybody remembers, that's like juvie jail. A lot of the kids were like going through these things. And when I worked in the inner city as a nurse, I saw these children, and some of them would beg me to adopt them. They were just like, their stories were horrible. One of them had a mother who she picked up with a prison bae every time you turned around. She was taken up with prison guys. And then when they would get out of prison, she would bring them home. And she's got children. And she's got prison boyfriends coming in and out. And this guy told me about all the chaos, how he had to fight men because of maybe somebody's trying to do something to his siblings. He's got to protect them. There's no father. And you can now see that some of them have been trafficked in things. You know, one girl told me how she had an older boyfriend. She's like a teenager. She's got some boyfriend, 30, 40. And he's using her to get, so she can take babysitting jobs. So then he has access to the little child that she's babysitting. Yes, I have heard these kind of things. And can you imagine like how you feel as a nurse? Now you're taking care of this teenage girl who's telling you that she set up little kids 5 years old for her older boyfriend to take advantage of. That was the whole reason for her to babysit. And you know, you can't be angry at this teen child because you have to know something happened for her to become so heartless. What is that about? How does a life lead to that? Well, the stories I know, I can again put them in a book, all of the stories that I can just recall of these children. And a lot of the girls, the little black girls in the inner city, they have become so just masculine, so violent, so aggressive that you would have to protect the boys from the girls. If we ever had like a fire drill and all the kids are coming out of their rooms lining up, the little boys, let me just tell you what I noticed. The little boys, they're lined up on the wall. The girls are lined up, and we're, about to do whatever we're going to do for the fire drill. And I noticed, I looked at the boys and the girls, right? And I noticed the way that the boys were standing, like their body position, you could see their hands were covering their, you know what I'm saying? They were like covering themselves, their private parts. And I looked one day and I saw a few boys covering their private parts. And then I looked at the girls, and the girls were like, standing in really aggressive stances. And I noticed, I said, something has flipped. And I don't know if it's the medications that they're pumping these children with in these psychiatric places. But I just know that a lot has changed in our society. When I think about Philadelphia and how it was a breeding ground for what happened to my friend Terry Williams, and how he was driven to make a decision to kill his abusers, 2 of them. And if you look at his story, if you look it up and you find out what these men did to him, you would have to decide what you consider justice to be. Because I had to adjust the way I looked at it. But there is a major cost to pedophilia on society. It has effects that, are we willing to face the truth and to do something? Because these clowns here, they're not going to do it. The black church, they're the problem. I know that God is not pleased, and I believe that justice will be seen. I want to leave out on it's on the page of Williams, and if you want to him, there's information on that. And I really need to get into that. It's been a long time since I've been in touch with him, but let me share this. Thanks for joining. If I've missed you, like if you've done a super chat, is freezing Juan? How is it right now? Let me wait until you tell me. I have a smoothie here. Let me know if everything's good with the sound. Just let me know. I'll wait until you tell me. Is everything okay? Thank you, Molly. It's better. Okay, good. I'm just going to go to an article before I end the stream that is on, again, the Facebook page that I started a few years ago. The sound is good. Prosperity now, yes. Hey, Sandra. Hey, Muriel. Hi, Muriel. Welcome. You're on Facebook, I see. Oh, I love it. Thank you for joining, Muriel. Cher, oh my goodness. Wow, thank you, Cher. Thank you so much for the super chat. Thanks for sharing Terry's story. I pray he finds peace. Thank you, Cher. Thank you so much. That's so sweet. Let me get to a place where you can look at this with me. Okay, so this was one of the articles that I had posted on Terry. This is actually, oh, wait a minute. It's 2012. Okay, so this was entitled Hearing Continued on Terry Williams Case. Man set to be executed October 3rd. So this is old, of course. A last-ditch hearing to stay the execution of Terry Williams was continued late Thursday afternoon after nearly 9 hours of testimony. The judge will reconvene in Philadelphia on Monday morning. Williams is set to be executed on October 3rd for the 1984 murder of Amos Norwood. Williams stripped Norwood, tied him up with his clothes, and beat him to death with a tire iron. Then took his credit card and car and went with friends to Atlantic City. And later he returned, doused Norwood's body in gasoline and set it alight. 5 months earlier, he had stabbed another man to death in his bed and attempted to light it on fire with kerosene. Williams apparently had sexual relations with both men, and the defense has argued that he had been sexually abused by older men since before he was a teen. All right. So I'm just letting you know this is very heavy stuff. If you want to, read about this, this is just some, they have, his defense team asked for reconsideration of the decision. So the again was stayed because of the new information about the level of abuse that he endured. And maybe I'll show you the page that like I said, I don't think I have a whole lot of information on it, but if you want to go to it, maybe, it'd be nice if somebody like from our class or something might want to help maintain or do something, like, I don't know, maybe some of us can get involved with like updating information or something, but it's just called Simply Prayer for Terry Williams. This is, let's see. Like I said, it hasn't been an active page, but this is how it looks. It's just really small little page, as you can see. So that is the page. And I, again, want to encourage us as a family of humanity to protect children, protect little boys, and speak, give voice to the voiceless, and believe the children, and look into the reports, look into the suspicions. These things are not done in a vacuum. People know that these things are happening. May we rise up and begin to become courageous and protect children. And this is, again, a call to action to women, that we are very important when it comes to a defense against what's happening to children. We have to regain our natural heart, our compassion. Philadelphia is considered a city of brotherly love. And it's everything but. And why? What has happened to the moral fabric of Philadelphia? And with the gatekeepers, the Black Boule, the Black Church, why is this happening? Why is this allowed in the city of Philadelphia? When will people get enough? I don't know what it will take. You have a situation right now. I bring up a lot of stuff that goes on. Sometimes me and Girl Code talk about these things, and Karen. But you have this current thing going on with a pastor. His name is Larry Reed. And there's a big thing going on. He's been alleged to have done some things and to have been, shielded for years and years and years. This is what has been alleged. And someone that I know Girl Code and I listen to, he has been able to break down some things like that have helped me to understand, like, the mindset of these pastors as they, if you listen to Larry Reed explain himself, it's just a lot of babbling, splaining, and it's like a lot of like just talk. It doesn't really lead anywhere, just circular, just lots of stuff. And I'm trying to be fair and listen without, making a decision. But there you go again. The court of public opinion, when you're listening to someone who's been accused of this and they're being very public and it's very public, and you're listening to them explain themselves, it becomes really very interesting to listen and witness. But this one gentleman, he caught something that I want to say I'm going to really listen for. And he explained that sometimes when men are taken over by this demon, this whatever, this appetite for boys, they may explain it as, now check this out, and this is what this person caught as they were listening to the explanation, excuses, explaining. It's like, that wasn't me. Like the stuff that happened to these people, the person that did it wasn't me. In other words, it wasn't them in terms of who they are today, like, or who they identify as they were explaining to the audience that sometimes, and now this is their opinion, like sometimes when a person is caught up in this, they will not identify themselves as the person that perpetrated the violence on the little boy. They live like a double life, like they have a persona, like a Jekyll and a Hyde. And so when that monster comes up, and a lot of pastors are addicted to pornography. Can we talk? A lot of pastors have given testimony of being addicted to pornography. And pornography is something that is like potato chips. You can't eat just one. You will not have control over that monster. As it gets fed, it needs more. And it leads to more depravity. And I'm going to say what I believe about pornography. If you indulge in it and you really get into it, it will lead to children and animals. It is a progressive slide down a moral, just a sewer that winds up in such a degraded place. It takes the spirit and the soul and it degrades it. It takes the natural affection away from men and women, because women are addicted to pornography and they talk about it shamelessly. Women have turned into such monsters. Toxic clown wave feminism. All they do is talk about sex like a bunch of just feral animals. No self-control, incontinent. In the last days, they would be incontinent and they do not have natural affection. They like golden showers. They have no shame. So we're in a time now that right is wrong and wrong is right. And we can't look at the gatekeepers to help. Like I said, they're not going to help. They are the problem. But what are we going to do? The ones who, people can accuse us of a lot of things. We have been talking about child abuse, trafficking, exploitation for how long? And people have hated us for it. These are the people who aid and abet abate and harbor pedophiles. They believe that the pedophiles are innocent, even when evidence and receipts are there for them to look into. They will not. They will have contempt for the victims. They will think the victims just want money. Well, that's what the people have been plying them with, money and materialism. And now you're mad at them because they might want a settlement. It's amazing how the victims are treated. I don't know what it will take to wake people up to this. I don't know what it will take for women and men to mend the war, to mend the fabric of the family. I don't know how our hearts can turn back towards each other. But that is the solution, is that the family is healed. And that should be something that's encouraged in the Black church. It should be. But they are going to, it's woe to them. We're in the time of the woes. So everybody who has been out here, taking advantage of the children, of the little boys, they're going to fall. They're going to fall. And we're going to watch them fall. They're being exposed now. They're being exposed. And it's all happening in the way that it's just like swirling all at once, it seems. But it's all coming together. And these people are going to be brought down. There is a chance of repentance, and people can come forward and tell the truth and not try to lie, not try to get away with it anymore. It's time to pay. It's time to pay. They put it off too long. Now we know. We know what they've been doing to the little boys. We see the aftermath of so many broken men. Like I told you, a lot of my peers, broken. And I know in my spirit what I'm seeing in some of them. And like I said, some of them have shared with me what has happened. So I don't know when I will do another live stream, but I want it again. If I can't do another live stream for a week, at least I have one that's up that is explosive, I hope. Share it. It is long. It's a 2-hour. I won't worry about as long as we go, because, we're in a society that, the attention span just gets shorter and shorter. But, people, they decide what they want to look at. And if you, think this is something that somebody could, be helped by, if you want to contact Terry Williams, he's in the Pennsylvania prison system, and you can look him up, Terrence Williams. Okay. And like I said, I have the page on Facebook that's called Prayer for Terry Williams, and you can, join it. I hope somebody comes forward that might want to help me just keep the page current or something. Anybody's welcome. Let me know. And if I have missed your message again, just please give me grace and mercy. And if you've contacted me again, like social media, I'm on Instagram, Jenny the John, and on Facebook, I continue to just keep my name the same across Twitter. Telegram. Someone told me that if I don't get into my Telegram page, it's going to disappear. So hopefully I'll get back in my Telegram, but I will need to start another one or something. But either way, I'm not going to just let them drive me off of social media. So I'll continue playing with the censorship, whatever. I'm going to just keep my voice going, and I'll always let you know where you can find me. So again, thank you for listening to Terry Williams' story and me talk about just some of Philadelphia, some of the things I've observed, my experiences, and I'll continue sharing things as it comes to me. And you can share with me, like, drop it in the comment section. If I miss, like I said, I was on a little kind of roll, just had to get it out. Thank you for being very patient with the process. It's not easy. As you know, I get a little bit nervous talking about this. I know if Lady Knievel, she's probably like, there she is playing with her hair again. It's like a nervous tick, right? You should have known I was going to be a little bit nervous. As soon as I put these little curls in my hair, you already know. It's like a little self-soothing that I do. All right. So I learned it from a stepmother. Probably where I got this from. So anyway, that's it. Let me go ahead and end this live stream. Good night to everyone who's joined. And thank you for the super stickers, super chats. Bless you all. And I'll see you maybe in a week or shorter time. But thank you. I love you. And, if you can fit it in your heart to pray for Terry, for prayer for Terry Williams, just thank you. I know he appreciates it all. Love you all. Take care. Bye-bye.